Oh, hello and welcome back to the next episode on the Inside Out podcast. I'm super excited for this one. It was kind of a last minute planned thing, but we have our special guest here, Layla, and she is a Kundalini Activation Facilitator. Um, Energetic work. We're really just going to dive into exactly what that is in today's session, but we kind of decided last minute that we were going to do this, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out and spending our evening together just talking about energy, talking about, the container that we were just held in, where we met each other, and just pretty much our experience so far in Bali and holding space. That's really the topic of today. So before we really dive into all of that, Layla, I would like to give you the floor, and really just tell us about who you are, and yeah, what brought you to here in Bali? What brought you here today?
Well, first of all, I'm so grateful to be able to sit in this space with you.
Hmm.
I'm very much like a planner. And when you told me this morning, let's just do a podcast, I was like, am I feeling it?
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, totally feeling it. So excited to just be in a space where we can share what we usually talk about.
Yeah.
And since like the container that we were in, like we've been just bouncing, sharing, exchanging, and supporting so many ideas and just words of wisdom with one another.
Mhm.
So I think that's really special. So my name is Layla, and I am a life force activation facilitator. Some people may know it as Kundalini Activation. I am based in Saudi Arabia. I also just did my breathwork training with Julia, and I am also certified in spinal energetics. So it's,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm full of
Yeah,
surprises.
seriously.
So I kind of weave all these modalities together. I started my journey 3 years ago. As you know, when I lost my grandmother, it was a very, it was it still is actually an indescribable relationship that I had with her. I get really emotional talking about it, but I love talking about her. And that's the thing about grief is that people sometimes retract or hesitate to to ask about that person or to talk about that person, but it's the best thing ever. So I came to Bali 3 years ago and just signed up for a retreat, not knowing what to expect, and it completely changed my life. And that's when I got into the world of energetics and I saw how it transformed everything that was kind of my foundation, because it wasn't really my foundation. It was a false foundation that was shaped by culture, society, um, limiting beliefs, upbringing, and energetics brought me back to my truest self. And it connected me to my grief in a way that no words, no action could describe. It was like just pure connection to what it felt like to have that pain. And grief is not something that you heal and you let go of, because you're always going to miss that person. You're always going to think about that person. And that pain is always going to be there. It's just how you carry that pain and you get stronger, right?
Mhm.
And you learn new things about yourself as you're navigating through grief, because it really does reprogram your brain
Mhm.
and how you see the world and how you think. So, yeah, combining that journey of grief that kind of opened up everything else for me, this is where I am today. sharing it with people who I know truly resonate and gravitate towards it, and helping and supporting them heal themselves.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Now, my brain is still like fixating on the spinal energetics. When was that before Kundalini?
So spinal came naturally after Kundalini.
And Kundalini was last year.
No, Kundalini was, so we're 2025.
Yeah.
Kundalini was January 2024.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was in Bali.
No, that was in Portugal.
We were talking about this the other day. But her studio is in Bali.
Yeah.
Where
So my
your
mentor, Rebecca Jax, who was the person I signed up the retreat with, and she's held so much space for me to not only heal, but to also help others heal.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for having met her. And I always say this, and I'll continue to say this. It was like God, divine timing, and like a little twist of my grandmother kind of pushing me in that direction and guiding me towards her. Yeah.
I love that. Now, I'm sure that there's people that are going to be listening to this that are like, what is Kundalini? Because I just learned what Kundalini was a few weeks ago and I'm still learning. So yeah, walk us through what Kundalini is, and then a little bit of what is that spinal energetics, and yeah, how do you weave that into your work, and then we'll dive a little bit more into, the breath work that we kind of just went into in the art of holding space.
Yeah, so Kundalini is an energy that resides at the base of your spine. And a lot of people get mixed up between Kundalini awakening, Kundalini activation. This is nothing invasive. It's not trying to force the body. And there's so many like misconceptions out there. This is not trying to force the body to do something that it's not ready for. And it's all about the space holder as well, and who you are going to in this situation and for this type of healing. So it's an energy that resides at the base of the spine. And in an activation, we are guiding the energy in a way where it will rise up and clear any stagnant energy, any suppressed emotions, any stress, while it's cleansing and purifying the chakras.
That was going to be my question. So it's almost like a chakra cleanse.
Yeah. And you can think of it as like a lot of people associate it with a snake because of the way it kind of like rises. And yeah, it rises, and that's the way it kind of cleanses and purifies as it's making its way up.
Yeah, so interesting. I did my first Kundalini activation a few weeks ago with another facilitator that we met through our breathwork course. And wow, like it's an energy that we have in our body naturally. Like it's there in every single person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not something you take out of someone. It's not something you put into someone. True space holding is allowing the body to unravel or uncoil.
Yeah. Her Instagram name.
To uncoil when it's ready, the way it's ready, without, trying to accelerate anything or force anything. It's just a natural flow. A lot of people will say breath is something, Kundalini is a different type of energy. Yes, ultimately, we are multidimensional beings, right? So we are energetic systems, and we have these different surging energies. And it's all about what you connect with and what you resonate most with.
Yeah.
That's what I've discovered. So through doing different modalities, I've discovered that I do have all these energies that are serving me in different ways and helping me in different ways.
Yeah.
And it's not about, oh, this is right, this is wrong, this is like really dangerous. it's not about that. It's about finding what's right for you with the right person that can hold that space for you and guide you through it.
Yeah. Now the spinal energetics.
Yeah.
So the Kundalini, we're really just uncoiling, waking
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
the chakras and just trying to release whatever
Yeah.
whatever stagnant energy is stuck
Yeah.
in the body.
Yeah.
So like breath work in a way, but different.
Exactly.
And now with the spinal energetics, yeah, I'm really curious about that.
So spinal is like a beautiful life-changing modality that um, focuses on the spine and nervous system. So the particular course that I took was amazing. It was Spinal Energetics by Dr. Sarah Jane. And what I loved about that particular course is the scientific part, as well as the spiritual part, and then the nervous system regulation part. So we're looking at the spine and she has a background in, she used to be, or still is, weaved in with what she's doing right now. She is a chiropractor, so that's her background.
Yeah.
And so she weaves in so beautifully the nervous system regulation.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No worries. That's okay. Do your thing. We're just gonna keep chatting.
Yeah, you just made it, Daisy.
Yeah, well, it will be. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna edit it. I do them just raw and real, so it's fine. Yeah.
It was meant to be.
Say it again.
You guys are coming to Mona?
We're gonna see how it flows.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I told Julia. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be there probably a couple hours and then go somewhere neat.
Amazing.
Okay. Amazing.
So,
Thank
do
you.
you have a scooter? No.
No, we'll probably get a grab.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go check around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
See you.
Thank you. Okay.
So, as I was saying, spinal is more focused on the nervous system in terms of the spine. So even the way we do our assessment, we're looking at different processes depending on, for example, the leg length, the Achilles tension, the 90-degree flex. So it's really looking and assessing the spine and then working with the spine, either depending on what you feel as a practitioner resonates more in that moment with the soul that has come to you and the person you're holding space for. So you check the spine and see where it resonates more. And it has, depending on what resonates, we're talking about, I don't want to get into too much detail to confuse anyone. Yeah. Because we're looking at it from major and minor spines. The major spine is the direct contact with the spine itself. And the minor spines is working with the spines on an energetic level. So that's what I really loved about this particular course is the merge of both these worlds. And that science and spirituality can merge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Science and the sacred.
Exactly. So it's a combination of these things, and each session is just depending on what that person has come with, what they need, and how it flows.
Yeah, love that. Now, like I had mentioned, we had met through our level 1 breathwork course here in Bali in Canggu, like literally 3 weeks ago. It's just so crazy. And something that I'm newer to learning and that she's obviously been practicing with her certifications and with the work that she explained that she does, is the art of holding space. And how important that is now as a facilitator, as a breathwork facilitator, same for her, but again, as just the work that she does. And being an energy, a healer, being a space holder, like what does that mean? So for the people that are listening to this, what would you say? How would you describe holding space? What does that mean?
Wow, that is such a powerful yet such a personal question at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think the art of holding space is very much related to the artist, the space holder, right?
That's really fun.
And that's how the uniqueness and the sacredness and just, the presence of each space holder, how they weave that into their own space holding.
Yeah.
So I can't personally share like a generalized approach, but what I can share is my own personal experience through learning, right?
Yeah.
Through actual space holding. And that's how you deepen your connection as a space holder.
Mm-hmm.
It's a co-creation. I always say this. It's definitely a co-creation because every healer is just shining light on people's people's lives, basically. You're shining light for people to come into a space and heal themselves. You're showing them how. And you're holding that space, you're holding that ground, you're holding that container in your own way. But ultimately, it's a co-creation because if you're not able to meet me halfway, we can't co-create together. And that's what space holding is. It's co-creating. And it's also presence. And we spoke about this.
Yep. That's the big word for me.
Yeah.
With this. And as I get more into this and experience it more, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more that I can put into this and say into this. But even as we started doing this, and even before we recorded this, I think examples are helpful for people to understand too, like what that means.
Yeah.
So like, for example, if we're just having a conversation, and this is normal, like this happens sometimes, like where maybe you're telling me a story and you're like, yeah, I was going to the store and I was gonna get bananas because they were on sale, and you interrupt me. Oh my God, did you see the bananas? Blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not holding space for me to completely tell you my story, to completely tell you my story of the grocery store, my experience, And so many people nowadays don't know how to hold space. It's always putting in, oh, well, this, oh, well, and not that what you are saying doesn't matter. It does. But how can we, maybe just put our foot on the brakes for a second and actually listen to what somebody is saying?
Yeah.
And that's presence. That's holding space. Like, to me, that is like something I'm practicing. I used to do it. I still catch myself doing it sometimes. And again, sometimes we're having more of a conversation where, oh my God, you might interrupt and say something, and like, that's okay. But so many people, like right now, you're holding space for me as I'm talking. You're hearing me, you're listening.
Yeah.
But so many people are so unaware of how, and it's a co-creation, disconnection from self and disconnection from the person that is also in the space with you. So you're not holding space for yourself or that person. I feel like I just wanted to give an example too, because I think they help. But that was said so beautifully. Like, it really is still newer to me, but it's changed my relationships with the people that I connect with back at home, with you, with people that I've met in a meeting. And it's not always comfortable too, because like right now I'm staring at you in your eyes. And this is something that we practiced in our container for breathwork. Is like, this was a practice of holding space, like looking at each other in the eyes and just staring and looking and seeing the reflection. And it's uncomfortable. It's not comfortable. It's not meant to be, but obviously
it's foreign.
Yeah.
It's foreign for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it can feel uncomfortable, but yeah, when you hold your ground and energy, it becomes a way of connecting rather than discomfort.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Did you have anything else to add on to that?
Yeah, I wanted to say I'm so glad you brought that up about the presence, because presence is taking the control out of the situation.
Yeah, yeah.
The need for control.
The need to say something.
Yeah, and the need to like just control everything, right? Especially in space holding.
Mm-hmm.
And in space holding, you're dealing with things not on the cognitive level, but more on the energetic level. And so if you are not present and you are needing to control and needing, ultimately, that's going to ripple out into your container.
Mm-hmm.
And the souls that are there waiting to receive or be held will feel that. They will feel that disconnect, that dysregulation, right? And we're human at the end of the day, right? So there will be a point where something ends up falling at the end of the room during your session. And it's not about being, it isn't a, space holding isn't about being present 100%. It is about presence, but it's also how life happens and you're able to bring yourself back into the present moment in that moment. That is part of the art of space holding that a lot of people kind of don't have. And you gain it through experience, through your own healing journey, and through
Regulation.
and regulation.
That's what was coming up.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Literally.
Awareness, regulation.
Understanding, having tools to regulate your nervous system, to be aware of, I had a lot of caffeine today, and which there's a little bit of truth to that for at least me. Like I'm not a huge caffeinated drinker, but I had more than I usually did. And I can feel in my body the difference between when I'm really caffeinated and when I'm not. I find that I'm not fully as present and in my body, and everybody's different. So it's that awareness of, how am I feeling? What state do I feel in? What's my heart doing? What's my heart rate right now? Bringing awareness into the soma, into the body.
Beautiful.
And like you said, I think you said it perfectly too, is we're not perfect human beings. We're not supposed to be, but the awareness of the present moment, of how you feel, of, shit is not always going to be perfect, but
100%.
when something happens in a session, which is gonna happen, whatever that is, how do I continue to hold space and, do what I need to do to assess whatever comes up? But being in that regulated state, practicing regulation, is going to make it easy to adjust to things that come up, to not go immediately into a panicked state, because it might happen, like Jamie, one of our facilitators, was telling us a story about, energetic cleansing the space and whatnot. And she had left the room, I think, to get the clients, and, doing the saging of the room, or the Palo Santo. And I think a little bit mini fire caught on. And imagine that energy beforehand. Like, holy shit, we're about to go into a container. It's normal. That's also like your nervous system is doing what it needs to do. But how can I bring myself back down, bring safety back into my body, complete the stress cycle loop, and continue on?
Adapt and flexibility.
Yeah. So I think that it's a practice too. And it's that awareness, and it's coming back to the present moment. And, for those of you who have been listening to my episodes who are newer, I have some previous episodes on regulation, and that's going to be something that I talk about a lot more on here, as it's a big part of who I am now. And just with life, it's something that a lot of us don't know how important it is. And then when we discover it, we're like, wow, actually, That's so healing. I'm looking at my computer because I have some questions. What does a safe container feel like versus an unsafe one? This is something that we were talking about today, which kind of
I like this question.
inspired this this whole experience, this whole podcast happening today. So I'm gonna say it again. What does a safe container feel like versus an unsafe one?
Jamie, our mentor, who we just completed the breathwork course with, shared something, and it was like a really profound realization. So the word safety is a trend word that's being thrown around now. As much as it's super important, and yes, it's one of the main things in the art of space holding. But Jamie shared that safety, what safety feels like in my body is totally different to what safety would feel possibly in Julia's body.
Yep.
So when you have 1 to 10 to 15 people coming into your space, safety could be different for every single one of those people. And that's why I'm trying to weave and moving forward towards weaving that different modalities, because it will allow me to hold that safe space for the different types of nervous systems that are in my container. So we could list like a few things, basic things of safety and spiritual discernment when you are a space holder in this type of, container, breathwork, or life force activation. And it's making sure that it's a clear space. It's an environment that the person that's walking in will feel comfortable in. So basic needs, if we're looking at it that way. So comfortable in, is able to lay there, is able to, come into that container. So we're looking at it from a basic kind of need as well. But then when you look at it under that, each soul is so different.
Yep.
And that's why I find that connecting with each person before they come into the container space allows me to kind of figure it out to a certain extent, what that person might need, what that person feels safe, talking about, what that person feels safe, what kind of environment that person feels safe in, what kind of environment that person doesn't feel safe in. So that allows me to kind of assess what is safe and what is not safe for each and every single person.
Yeah. Now I wanted to brush on like today. I just found it so interesting how, like I don't want to say the right and the wrong thing to do, because we were talking about like not really using that sort of language, like, oh, this is right, this is wrong. But there is kind of a right and a wrong, I feel, in terms of space holding, how something may be supportive. That's another word for, instead of like, oh, safe space, a supportive space. So how you can be more supported. Like, the conversation we were having today.
Yeah.
She had an experience where she just wasn't really completely safe, right? You weren't completely supported. And if you want to just touch on like what that for you was like, what that was like. And I even hearing that, I was like, oh, that's not space holding. That's not how you hold a space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel supported.
Yeah.
But I did feel safe because I am safe in my own body, and I've worked towards that.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do also crave that connection of safety, but immediately I felt like this is not someone that is gonna, give me that space or that safety. So I just knew it from the get-go.
Mm.
And
before you started the journey?
before. Yeah.
Okay, that's also important.
From just walking in and just sensing the room and feeling the room. And it's just something your intuition, which is resides in every single one of us. It's something that kind of starts getting stronger as you do this work.
Yep.
And it has its moments, but I always feel, and I'm blessed, like to have it and be guided as well and protected, you know, by my faith and by my intuition. So I just knew from the get-go. And coming back to that situation, that space holder has no idea what I've been through. I was there to receive knowledge and information. I went in there open to receiving. And I wasn't there to be told what to do, how to be. And that space holder gave me unsolicited advice within like 10 seconds of just seeing how I reacted or responded to how my body reacted and responded to something. And, you know, everyone has their own way of teaching. And this is not to speak ill or like we said, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you know what feels good for you.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I knew that I just wasn't on this, I just didn't have vibrational resonance with that space holder.
Yeah.
There was just no click.
Yeah.
And there could be so many others that click with her. But personally, that's not what I resonate with. That's not how I am. With the souls that come into my space, I don't think anyone should, whether it's in a container or whether it's right here, like in a friendship, give unsolicited advice.
Unless it's asked. Yeah.
Unless it's asked, right?
Yeah.
And it's so funny you just say that because my mom gave me amazing advice once, and she said she heard someone say, "Can I give you advice?" And that asking someone for their permission is such a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like to get you, like worked up, like, and walking on eggshells when you want to offer someone advice. But it adds such a connection and depth when you're looking at that person who's struggling, who might just want to open up and share, who's not wanting anything from you.
Yeah. Examples coming up for me.
Yeah.
So, how do I want to say this? We've been talking about how, with everything that's been going on, like chakra wise, where you're feeling very, like, maybe not as connected. Where would you say? I don't want to just say, where would you say, what chakra would you say is very, is looking for a little bit more love right now?
Funny thing is, I actually feel it's not about the disconnection. It's about, I feel most connected to it.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel that it has the most going on.
Yeah.
And it's my heart chakra.
Yeah, that's my hand. It's like right here.
Yeah.
Which I was gonna say, but I didn't want to.
Yeah.
This is kind of my point is, instead of being like, Layla, your heart chakra's blocked.
Exactly.
You're blocked.
Yeah.
You need to fix that. You need to open up. Hey, you know, you're opening up to me, or maybe, you know, in the breathwork session, like if I felt called to, if it's a personal connection too, like I would, and I think you as well, in that space holding container, being like, hey, can I tell you what I was feeling? I feel that maybe that your heart chakra is looking for a little bit more love instead of you're blocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is something that came up in our breathwork container, and you're going to go through life thinking that you're just blocked there, and there's something wrong with you.
Choice of words.
So the language which we learned in our container, and then which kind of came up in our conversation like today with the space holding that you were in, and just the language of the space holder and how that made you not feel supported. So how powerful that is, and it really does make the experience really, really powerful and good, or it can leave you feeling unsupported. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you never know what someone's been through. You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And even if you think you know, you don't, because you don't know how it is, or you're not living in that person's vessel, or you're not having that human experience that person's having.
Yeah.
And you don't have their soul.
Yep.
So always practice kindness, show kindness, and reflect it, because that is also one of the most important things when someone's coming to trust you.
Yep.
Someone's already trusting you by stepping into your space. And so kindness, so simple, so easy, in the sense that it's easy to share with others. It's easy to be kind.
Yeah.
No matter what you're going through, you can be kind to others, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is something I would also add to anyone who's holding space.
Yeah, putting your
Having that quality
and that's also too is like that's reflection.
Yeah.
That kindness, whatever, if it's not coming up as kindness, it's coming up as anger, rudeness, whatever.
Yeah.
And I used to never understand this, but it's really clicked the past like 6 months of it is literally a reflection of the person.
Yeah.
It is not you. And it's hard because like I'm empathetic, I'm sensitive, like I wear it.
Yeah.
But really bringing that awareness back to yourself that that person's behavior is a reflection of them, period. End of sentence.
Yeah, reflection and projection.
Yeah. Okay. And then how can one start practicing holding space?
Oh, you're giving me all like juicy questions.
Literally, that's the last one I have on there.
I think connection to self.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you these 3 main things that I practice.
Okay.
Connection to self, taking care of my own self, in however way it may be.
Can you give some examples of what that might look like?
Receiving, being held in a container where I am supported.
So connection to self would be receiving.
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yeah.
An example.
Because through this type of work, I deeply connect with myself.
Yep.
That's just how I
Breathwork.
Yeah. So either breath work, energetics, spinal energetics, meditation, like that is my connection to self. And healing is cyclical, right? You go through one thing, you come out the other end, and then there's like a bit of a phase or a break, and then you're kind of like revisiting certain things. So connection to self is so important, because even as a space holder, you're still going through stuff, right? You're still going through life. As long as you're living, you're going to continue to go through challenges. Things are going to come to the surface. And so your capacity to handle these situations ultimately go back to that connection to self. And then faith, in however way it may be to personally. I feel like my faith is an anchor. It's a guide. It's that support, that is not assertive. It's soft. It's there. And I feel deeply held by it. Yeah. And then last but not least, intention.
So beautiful.
How you start off the session in your own way with intention. So you do guide the souls that enter the space to have their own intentions with no expectations, no goals, but how you set the intention, how you clear the space and set the intention and hold that container with that intention, grounding your intention is so, so essential.
And I think that the way that you said that also almost flows too. So connection to self.
Yeah.
The more you connect to yourself, you're going to find too that it's important to have connection to faith, right?
Yeah.
Or I guess it could be the other way, but faith, I think, brings you into connection to yourself too. Even
Yeah.
they kind of whatever.
Yeah,
And
they
then
they
from-
kind of loop.
They do.
Yeah.
And then from there, having that connection is going to help you create that intention.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think those
Beautiful.
are beautiful.
Yeah.
Layla and I could talk for probably the rest of the night, but we do have some potential plans, and we have talked about doing another podcast at some point. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that's coming up for you?
No, I just wanted to say I'm so happy we got to do this.
Me too.
Because we always do this,
I
but
know,
I'm so
literally.
happy we got to do this and be able to share this with your beautiful audience.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. I'm so grateful. So I'm sure you'll be seeing her on here again soon. But that concludes today. We were gonna enjoy this beautiful weather. It's been raining the past
Sunny
few days in
weather.
Bali.
Finally.
But we are gonna go soak it up and enjoy this. Hopefully it stays like this.
Yeah.
Hopefully it stays like this. And I'm feeling like we need to have a little dance party and move energy. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, peace and love. See you soon. Bye.